Hello, everybody, and welcome to the park. I am your host, Paul Rodriguez, and this is my personal audio log recorded content. And if you can tell by the intro, it's someone's birthday today. And yes, unfortunately, it is mine. But it won't actually be my birthday at the time I upload this podcast. It was the day before, in which I am recording. So yeah, happy birthday to me. I introduced myself as 21 last week, and now I am already feeling like that Taylor Swift song that everybody quotes, especially recently, considering a lot of people I know are around my age, so they can't stop quoting it when their birthday comes around. So I guess it's my turn to annoy people now. But yes, I am feeling 22 as of uploading this podcast, and I feel like I'm going through puberty again with all these changes in my life. Complete with, all that acne and hair growing in weird places and growth stunts, but growth spurts, sorry. But it's definitely not as awkward as the first time, and who really knew that this year would give me so many revelations. But I can't wait to talk about those revelations with you guys. But let's get on to the podcast. And I know a lot of people enjoy their birthdays, or at least try to enjoy their birthdays, but I'm like part of the 20-ish%. I don't know. I think that's a little too high. Let's say 10% that doesn't quite enjoy their own birthday. I mean, I can definitely go out to celebrate with people on their own birthdays, but never really mine. I think it's more the fact that I don't really enjoy being celebrated. I mean, I guess the fact that I lived for 22 years is kind of a victory, especially when there's kids dying all over the world that would be so lucky to reach 22. Okay, sorry, I just went dark there, but yeah, if people were going to celebrate me, I feel like I really have to earn it. Like, win the Olympics or cure cancer or something like that. Like, I don't think living another year is much of an accomplishment, especially if you're living in Canada. Like, unless you're like 100 years old or like in a country where the age of mortality is really low. But anyways, enough of the morbid reality. I've never been the type to throw a birthday party for myself. Growing up, it would always be my parents that held my parties. It's not like any of my friends would ever come over. My parents, they'd invite their own friends, and I guess I'd make friends with the children that do come over, the children of my parents' friends. But it was never really any of my friends from school, not that I had a lot anyways. And I think it's the fact that I don't enjoy the idea that my parents never really went out of their way to ask if I had any friends that I want to invite to come over, and like have cake, play some games. But like, I mean, this year actually I invited people over because my parents wanted to for once, and I did. Otherwise, they would think that I'm some sort of loser that doesn't have friends over on my birthday. And anyways, I guess like as a result of all of that, especially in my teenage years, I'd kind of resent when September would come around, because then I had that feeling of obligation to kind of want to throw a party, but the only people that I'd feel comfortable inviting were never able to make it. And my parents' friends, their kids, the ones that I'd hang around when they would come over to my birthday parties, well, they all got older, right? So that means that they were less obligated to come over. So then really it would just be my birthday, but only for all of the parents to celebrate and not really me. So yeah, definitely around like age 15, 16, I kind of gave up on saying yes to birthday parties that my parents would throw, because I don't know, I guess like I wanted to be celebrated more. I didn't want to like Like, I want to be celebrated more with people that I want to be around. Because, like, what's so fun about not being around people you love, you know? I also like to keep it simple. I don't really like to have very elaborate birthday plans. I'll save those elaborate plans for someone else, because, like, after all, sorry, my phone is going off. After all, you can't have a disappointing birthday party if you don't have one to begin with. So, yeah, I know that sounds depressing and all, but as I said, these are my actual feelings that I want to give the listeners, and not only to you guys, but to myself as well. In fact, like, I wish that I'll look back at this podcast, at this episode, and say, wow, I was really wrong about feeling this way about my birthday. You know, my birthday's special, but I think that can change in time. But yeah, that's the quick history of my birthday and what I feel about it. But I'll give you guys a fun fact just to lighten up the mood. I tell this to everybody that are trying to guess my birthday or something like that. I share my birthday with Queen Bee herself, Beyonce Knowles. You know that. To the left. Yeah, that girl. But, you know, I also hate the fact that I share my birthday with the beginning of school. Yeah, here in Canada, we start school in September. And, yeah, it's, I really dread it whenever school comes around. Like, throughout elementary, I was definitely, like, a shy kid. And, you know, just like all shy kids, when you get them to get out of their shell, they're also happy-go-lucky, and we all know that there are times we wish to go back to, such as being in kindergarten, where everything is carefree, and you can get a juice box, and every corner of the table is soft so you won't gouge your eyes out. And, you know, that's early elementary school for you. But in the later years, it was a lot more of being friends with the right people. As for me, I never really found that specific group that I would have liked to join the cool kids, or I would have liked to join the gaming nerds. Maybe I wanted both of those groups, but I never really had it. I never really had a group of friends that I could classify as one or the other. I definitely had a few friends that I would, of course, hang out with during recess and lunchtime. And I don't know, I feel like I've never really established a deeply rooted friendship. And with those couple of friends that I enjoyed being with, it never really extended outside of school to hang out. And I think the only way we got to see each other, it definitely is the only way we got to see each other, was that we were forced to see each other every day, you know, being in school. And throughout the later years of elementary, it also did not get better in high school. Like, the friends that I would hang out with during the late elementary years, they had actually eventually outcasted me from that group of friends. And I don't blame them, because if I was someone else looking at a person like me that kind of just tags along and just in the background, just quiet and awkward on the sidelines like that, that doesn't really add anything to the clique, to the friend group, you know. And I feel like that kind of sent me into like a denial sort of stage, you know, like where I just couldn't believe that they would treat me like this, and I continue to just hang around on the sidelines, and I think it finally broke them when I was pulled aside and I was explicitly told that I couldn't hang out with them anymore. And I still wasn't understanding. I was still kind of following them around. This kind of all happened on the same day, but eventually they just told me, just stay here and we'll go. And I was offered a fresca for consolation. Yeah, you know, you can only imagine what I felt like being 14 and not having friends that like you. So yeah, that really shook me up for about a year before I could really talk to anyone. But yeah, that was school in a social aspect for me. And you know, it was just the same throughout all my years in school and elementary and high school. But you know, anyways, getting into the actual part of school, the academics, it was also the same throughout elementary and high school. Like I always dreaded the academic part of high school, and well, I'd say all of school. I dread being the model of excellence. You know, I was never one, but I'm grateful for being back to school now. But I know for a fact that I hated the idea of school. I was one of those edgy kids that thought, you know, school doesn't make you smart, or if anything, it's just brainwash. It'll just make you think that you're not as good as everyone else, right? You know, everyone else is smarter than you, which I mean, I guess that's the case, but in high school, I definitely knew that I was an underachiever, and at the same time, I also felt too smart to even really try. Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. You definitely have to try. You know, as a teenager, you just feel so comfortable where you are in life. But if you never go out of that zone, you never know what you can accomplish. Like the one time, I'm going to share a story with you. I hope my mom isn't listening, but I actually failed Math 10. I got like a 40% or something like that. And I don't know, I guess I never really got anything out of receiving that bad grade. All I know is that I didn't want my mom to see it. So I actually went out of my way. I got that report card scanned. Like we had a photo scanner. So I scanned my report card at home. And I've, like, a little bit of backstory, I've played around with like manipulating photos, so I definitely had like those Photoshop skills, air quotes, like at a very basic level, you know, except, you know, it wasn't Photoshop, it was paint. But, you know, because, like, you know, that's all a 14-year-old can afford at the time. I didn't know how to pirate stuff as well. But yeah, anyways, I opened the picture in Paint and I copy pasted a new grade to cover up that F. But, you know, at the same time, I wanted to make it believable. So I put a C plus on there, considering I got a C minus to the term before, right? That's believable, right? I mean, yeah, it was too believable. In my mom's eyes, mind you, I have Asian parents, so you can kind of see where this is going. She still thought it was a bad grade. And with getting a bad grade, she wanted to talk to my teacher about the next parent-teacher meeting. Well, not about at the next parent-teacher meeting, to talk about my bad grade and how to improve it and all that. So I guess that's a lesson well learned. Obviously, like, I was smart enough to like change my grade and make it look believable and all that, but not smart enough to know that my mom would still be pissed at a C plus. My point being, if I applied myself, sorry, not I. My point being is that I applied myself in the wrong aspects. You see, I knew how to alter a photo, make it look real. I even printed it out in color, and it looked exactly the same as my report card. But I think the best thing was that I found doing that whole process fun. Like, what would have happened if I actually applied the same motivation of changing my grades in paint into actually, like, legitimately changing my grades by performing well in my class, right? Like, who knew where I'd be right now? Looking back on it, I should have taken the graphics class. I should have really explored that kind of skill when I was younger. And I guess it's really too bad that I didn't discover that in high school. And it wasn't until university that I really liked working with graphics, and I really enjoy it as a hobby. And I don't know, I guess I would say in a professional sense, that I really got to explore graphic design when my university, a couple years ago, was holding an alumni dinner, and I was in charge of doing all the graphics for that event. And it came down to me doing invitations and logos and t-shirt designs, because the fact that I think the months before I really got into like a weird graphic design kind of phase and photo editing, but not really all of that advanced stuff. I would, if you scroll through my Instagram feed in I think 2015, it's a lot of very heavily edited photos, and I did that to explore the creative part of myself. I actually made custom sweaters, custom bags, custom shoes, not like the actual piece of clothing or accessory, but I put logos on them that I created and that I really liked. So yeah. Another thing that I forgot to mention was that the class that I was taking had a lot of creative projects, and I think that really opened me up to designing and creating concepts. So I also shared those with the class, and I'd get told by the instructor that I put quite a bit of effort into a clean design, especially when it just plays a small part in the entire project. I guess like a lot of my class agreed that I kind of have that proficiency in graphic design. So it was definitely nice to hear that people like what I enjoy doing. I never really considered it as a hobby, and I don't know, I still don't, because it's something I just like playing around with. But I totally forgot to mention that the course I'm taking are not graphic design courses. I'm enrolled in a AutoCAD drafting program in university, and I do tend to go overboard when the instructor gives us creative freedom for our projects. But as of recently, I've been given the opportunity to give life to ideas in terms of graphic design. So for those of you that don't know, I am part of a youth community, and it's a really big community. We span across all of BC, well, the world, but I get to be in charge of a graphics team. I was recently asked to be the head of graphics, and so not only do I get to be part of the community still, I get to serve and explore and exercise my talents in a way that benefits everyone. So I'm really looking forward to all of that. Perhaps I'll talk about it more in another episode. And thank you again for those of you still listening. We're just about to hit the 20-minute mark. Tune in next week. It's going to be an exciting episode. I'm bringing in the very first guest on the show, so don't miss that. Anyways, subscribe if you haven't already. You're not obligated to. It's entirely your choice. Have a good day, good night, wherever you are, and thank you all for visiting the park.